Hey, this is Mike from the Run Testers, and in this video we're going to be talking about the new Shokz OpenRun Pro 2, which are of course the follow-up to the Shokz OpenRun Pro. Now these are Shoksz's premium sports headphone that are primarily designed for runners. Now myself, Nick and Tom have all had a pair of OpenRun Pro to test out, so what we're going to do in this video is tell you what is new on the OpenRun Pro 2 compared to the OpenRun Pro, then get into some running thoughts about how we've got on with the OpenRun Pro 2 and let you know whether it's worth the upgrade, maybe it's worth buying the OpenRun Pro 2 over other Shokz headphones, and ultimately tell you if these are a great pair of running headphones. So let's get into it. Now, first we'll start with pricing of the OpenRun Pro 2, and it has become more expensive than the OpenRun Pro. It's gone up £10 in the UK, so that, if you look at the grand scheme of things and look at other kind of open-ear headphones, it definitely sits near that kind of top end in terms of pricing. It's obviously not as expensive as something like the Bose Ultra Open, which are kind of truly wireless earbud style open-ear headphones, but in terms of that top end, it definitely kind of sits around that. Now, in terms of that design, it's still a neckband style one. It's very similar to the OpenRun Pro, uses the same materials. It's still available in kind of standard and small sizes. And interestingly, Shokz told us that the smaller version is very popular with UK runners. Now, in terms of the controls, it is the same controls that we got on the OpenRun Pro. They're the physical kind. You've got that volume rocker on the underside of the headphones. You've got that exterior multifunction button, which has been slightly redesigned, but ultimately does perform in the same way. Now, where there is a big difference is when you look behind that volume rocker, you are now getting a change in charging setup. Now, the proprietary charging cable has gone, and we're now getting a type USB-C one, so a more universal charging setup that we're now getting on the OpenRun Pro 2. So it's going to make it a lot easier to charge. In terms of durability, again, it stayed the same as the OpenRun Pro. It's an IP55 one, so that makes it kind of really resistant to splashes of water. It's really about kind of withstanding sweat. It's really about, if you're out running in the rain, it should handle that as well. Now, the reason I think that, according to what Shokz is really telling us here, that the durability on the OpenRun Pro and Pro 2 isn't as strong as something like the OpenRun, it's to do with the architecture and design of the headphones and ultimately allowing it to deliver that improved sound over the OpenRun. There's more vented areas in that design, which ultimately means it has to kind of downgrade that durability that you'll get it. So with the changes that Shokz has made on the audio front, that has seen a slight jump up in terms of the overweight compared to the OpenRun Pro. Now, in terms of those audio changes, that is really one of the areas where Shokz has sought to make improvements on the OpenRun Pro. The other one is battery. Now, we talked about the change in the kind of charging setup. What that has ultimately allowed as well is to kind of speed up the kind of fast charge modes. You're getting more playtime from the similar level of charging or fast charge. So that's 5 minutes of charging on the OpenRun Pro 2. You're also getting a battery that's capable of going longer, so it can, it's going a couple more hours longer than the OpenRun Pro as well too. At least it is on paper. And then we get into those kind of audio changes. Now, the big thing here is that what Shokz is doing is combining air conduction, which is used on its kind of Shokz Open Fit headphones, and the bone conduction technology that we've seen in other kind of OpenRun headphones, including the OpenRun Pro. Technically, this isn't the first time that Shokz has done this. Now, as they told us, the Shokz OpenRun Pro did actually have some air conduction technology on board. It didn't ultimately shout about it. It just had one unit dedicated to delivering that. Now, on the Shokz OpenRun Pro, you're getting 2 units delivering that air conduction, and you're also getting the latest generation of its bone conduction technology. So what that ultimately wants to do is give you the best of both worlds in terms of those open ear technology. So with the bone conduction, you're getting that kind of promise of kind of like clarity, the kind of the increased awareness mode that you do get from bone conduction and what we've seen on previous OpenRun kind of headphones. But when you've got that air conduction in the mix as well too, you're getting that kind of bigger boost in power, bass, warmth, and also that customization that is enabled in the companion Shokz app. Now, In terms of that Shokz app, you're getting kind of preset EQ modes, you're getting custom EQ modes there as well too. You are also getting a multi-point kind of sharing mode as well too. So you want to pair the headphones to multiple devices, you are able to do that as well. So those are the key things that have happened with the Shokz OpenRun Pro 2 compared to the OpenRun Pro. Now we're going to get into our running thoughts on how the headphones have performed out on the run.
When it comes to the design and fit of the OpenRun Pro 2, you've got all the usual Shokz high notes here. You've got a very secure and comfortable fit. They're really lightweight headphones. You put them on, you kind of forget you're wearing them. They're just there and they stay securely in place. No matter what kind of run you're doing, whether you're pounding down hills or anything like that, the ear hook design with the headband creates a very secure fit and a comfortable one. I've worn them alongside a hat and glasses. I wear glasses or sunglasses in all of my runs and a hat on all my runs, and yeah, they're not a problem to wear with these headphones. They just sit on the ear and they're very comfortable. Controls are also very good. Again, you've got all the kind of normal Shokz stuff here with the one multi-function button and then the two buttons for volume and power on and off. All of them are very easy to use while on the run. Yeah, no complaints there at all. So all round, I think the design's excellent with these headphones. I had a great fit with them. They're nice, lightweight, comfortable headphones to use for any length of run.
So the OpenRun Pro 2 headphones, if you've tried any of the OpenRun headphones before, it's much of the same. There's not a massive change to the design of these and how they fit. I find them very, very comfortable. I've used these for 5 or 6 runs now. They fit my head perfectly. They don't rub or anything like that. I wear them with my caps and I sometimes wear them with sunglasses as well, and they fit absolutely fine. I really like the design of bow conduction headphones like this. They just fit comfortably around my head. I like the fact that you can snap them around your neck as well, so that people don't think that you're not listening to them. So the design and fit of these absolutely fine and very, very comfortable, same as the previous versions that I've tested. Oh, the other thing as well is that I really like the USB-C charger on this. I've recently moved house and I've cleared out loads and loads and loads of wires. I've got a lot of wires, proprietary wires for loads of different bits of tech. So whenever something has a USB-C charger, I'm always very, very pleased. So quite glad that it's got this USB-C in it now.
So in terms of what the Shokz OpenRun Pro 2 have been like to wear and to run with, I would say very good overall. I think very similar to my experience with the OpenRun Pro and things like the OpenRun. They're very comfortable to wear, they're very secure, they don't jump around, and I've ultimately just been able to throw them on and not have to really worry about them. Now, there is a little bit of added weight there, mainly in those kind of arms where you can kind of notice it when you kind of pick them up next to the OpenRun Pro, but in the grand scheme of things, when I've run long with them, hasn't been a massive difference to me in terms of my experience, and I haven't felt heavier or noticeably heavier to wear. For me, the physical controls are great. They've stuck to the same ones as the OpenRun Pro. I think they are, for me, probably one of the best examples of physical controls and controls on a pair of running headphones or sports headphones. And there's a reason why a lot of other brands copy what Shokz do on that front. I think the big change for me and the positive one is when you look back beyond that volume kind of rocker and you see the change in the charging solution. Having, or being able to use a charging cable that probably most people already have in their homes, I think just makes it a more convenient and a pair of headphones that are easy to kind of pick up. And if you previously, if you had misplaced that proprietary charging cable, it might be a pain to kind of quickly top them up. That's not going to be the case. I think now it's going to make it a more convenient and, I say, easier pair of headphones to throw on. So I think, largely stuck to the same formula of the previous OpenRun Pro. That one key difference for me really being that change to a USB-C charging setup, which I think is a step in the right direction for the OpenRun Pro 2.
The sound quality, I have noticed a bit of an upgrade here with the OpenRun Pro 2 with this dual technology design with the air conduction in there as well. Like, I noticed it when I was just using them on my runs, and I've done some back and forth testing with the OpenRun Pro, and I think there is a fuller, more powerful sound here. There's more depth to it, and it makes it more enjoyable to use these headphones when you're just around the house or in the office and stuff like that, and then you get a bit more kind of power on the run as well. Like, I've noticed these are slightly harder to drown out with traffic or wind than previous models of the OpenRun. You still have those problems though. Like, they haven't solved the problem of bone conduction headphones, which is that the awareness you gain, it comes at a trade-off for sound quality. You are still very much trading off sound quality for the awareness here, but they are pretty enjoyable to use and listen to. They are a bit of an improvement on past models. It's just not enough of an improvement to bridge the gap to in-ear headphones or even the very best open headphone designs like the Bose Ultra Open. And there is still the problem of stuff being drowned out if you're going to go traveling or if you're running by a busy road or or very windy conditions or at a big event like the London Marathon, you're still going to get stuff drowned out. That's especially true for me when I'm listening to podcasts with male hosts. I think those kind of low-pitched voices get drowned out a bit more, but listening to music today and on other past runs I've done with the headphones, like, it is enjoyable to do it. You can get your motivational boost from your music, and I do think the sound quality has jumped up a little bit on past models, but you are still trading off a lot of sound quality to get the awareness from this open bone conduction design.
So in terms of sound performance, that's really a key area that Shokz wants to improve from the OpenRun Pro. Now, as mentioned, this isn't actually technically the first time it's used air conduction and bone conduction, but it's definitely, or both technologies are definitely more prominent and more balanced in terms of that experience that you're getting here on the Pro 2. Now, ultimately, what it wants to do is trying to improve that experience that you get with open-ear headphones, that ultimately you are going to have to compromise in terms of that sound quality to some degree, just generally because of the way open-ear design works. It's not entirely blocking up your ears like in-ear or over-ear headphones will, and you are going to make some sacrifices in sound quality, but ultimately it wants you to make less sacrifices in terms of that performance. So you've got that bone conduction technology, which will give you that clarity, which will still give you that very strong awareness mode, but still give you that good balance in terms of that sound performance. But then you've got that air conduction side, which ultimately is going to give you a little bit more in terms of power, a little bit more in terms of warmth, and also give you that level of customization that we've seen that you can get on the Open Fit range. Now, in terms of achieving that balance and delivering all of those things, I would say there are some good and not so good things, but I think ultimately I've enjoyed the overall sound performance on the OpenRun Pro 2 compared to the OpenRun Pro. I think the big thing for me, there is a lot more power in terms of that overall sound. There's definitely a upping in terms of the overall warmth. I think there's a a more noticeable feel in terms of that bass as well too, and that kind of general kind of bass response. I think what you do lose a little bit is a little bit of the clarity that you do get on OpenRun Pro, and I think also the OpenRun as well too. I don't think it's as bad as I thought it would be, but it definitely is a drop in terms of that overall clarity. And that kind of is leveled at when you're making calls and, using them, instead of your phone as well too. That clarity has just dropped a little bit. The balance generally is still pretty good in terms of that sound profile. And it is going to work, I think, for most people. If you are listening to kind of more tempo music, you have the EQ modes to kind of make it a better fit. You can, if you listen to more relaxed sounds, you're using podcasts or audio books, it can work for that as well. For me, it's definitely louder, it's definitely warmer in terms of overall sound, and it's definitely bassier and handles that bass a little bit better. And crucially, that awareness mode is still very good overall. And having the two technologies doesn't kind of hamper that kind of awareness mode and making sure that you are safely hearing the sounds around you as well too.
Sound quality for me on these is actually an improvement on previous versions of the OpenRun headphones. What I've found is that it feels a little bit louder, and I have never been able to listen to spoken word podcasts, audiobooks on previous versions of these. I seem to be able to listen to them on these as long as I'm not in the loudest of areas. So when I'm running about my town that I live in, I've actually been able to listen to podcasts on these. So there's definitely an increase in loudness, and it's a welcome one, because it means that I can actually listen to podcasts now, which is something that I tend to do most of the time when I'm out on the run. I listen to music today, and I much prefer to listen to a podcast normally. So I'm glad that I can listen to podcasts on these. What I would say is that it's a balancing act. So I think Nick talks about this as well, but it's a balancing act with these. So the louder they get, the less awareness you get. And what I did have noticed with these is that because they're slightly louder, I do have a little bit less awareness. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with bone conduction headphones in the future, because if they keep getting louder, you're actually going to lose some of the awareness. So you sort of lose the benefits that you're getting from it, and you might not be allowed to use them in races and anything like that. I think these are probably getting to the point where they're as loud as they can go before you start actually losing a little bit of awareness around you. The sound for me, very, very good in these. Definitely improvement on the earlier versions of them. If you want the best sound and you really want a pair of OpenRun headphones, these are going to be the best ones you can get.
Battery life listed at 12 hours is obviously very good for these headphones. Like I find with these headphones and indeed other Shokz products or other bone conduction products in general, if you have the volume raised to the max all the time when outside, which I tend to need on my runs, then the battery life won't quite hit the listed numbers, but these have been tracking pretty well. I think they're going to last over 10 hours for me, with pretty much all usage being at the maximum volume, so they'd last a week of training quite comfortably. A good quick charge feature as well. The fact that it's now a standard charging port rather than a proprietary one is also very good, especially the fact that they still have a very high waterproof rating, which is fine for running. So all around, I think the battery life is a plus point to these, and it's certainly And it is a upgrade here compared to other models in the Shokz range that they're likely to be competing with. So that is a notable benefit to the OpenRun Pro 2 when you compare them to either something like the OpenSwim Pro or cheaper models like the OpenRun.
What I found with the OpenRun Pro, the battery performance is really tied, I think, ultimately to how loud you listen, but also the EQ modes that you use as well too. If you're using a kind of more bass heavy EQ mode, if you're listening at kind of higher volumes, I found the OpenRun Pro, the battery life probably dropped a couple hours below the kind of promised overall numbers that Shokz kind of talks about. And I think it's a similar story with the Shokz OpenRun Pro 2 for me. When I've listened at louder volumes, which I generally do, I usually use the kind of bass boost mode, EQ mode as well too. I found kind of an hour's worth of running saw the battery drop by 10%. That would equate to 10 hours, so not quite the 12 hours that Shokz kind of promises here. I think ultimately you could get those 12 hours, but I think you'd have to be listening at moderate volumes. I think you'd have to be more wary about the EQ modes that you use on a regular basis. But ultimately, I think it's probably going to be, or has, based on my experience, been around 10 hours, which is still a good number. And I would say it's still better performing than the OpenRun Pro from that point of view. I love the fact there's a quicker fast charging mode here. And ultimately, as I said, there's USB-C charging here, which is a more universal charging standard. And it ultimately makes it a lot easier to charge the OpenRun Pro 2 as well. So while I don't think the battery numbers are quite 12 hours, I still think it's very good. And you are getting a better charging setup, which I think is the big plus here on the OpenRun Pro 2.
Battery life for me has been absolutely fine, so it's nice, a welcome addition that you can get more battery life out of these than you can on the earlier versions. They seem to be pretty spot on for me, so I've not charged them yet, and I think I must be up to about 10 something hours in these now. And yeah, they're still, they're low, but yeah, they've done a good job. I'm not sure who would use them for 12 hours. I'm assuming if you're ultra running or anything like that, you might want to use them. So it's a welcome addition to have 12 hours on there. So for me, it's been pretty accurate. I think the battery life is pretty spot on for what you're going to get from it. And I do have my volume quite high when I'm listening to. Well, I have it at the max basically all the time when I'm listening to the bone conduction headphones.
The verdict is the OpenRun Pro 2 headphones are very good headphones, as you expect from Shokz. They have all the usual, Shokz benefits. You've got the awareness, you've got a very nice design that's comfortable and lightweight. You've got as good a sound quality as you can kind of get from bone conduction when combined with the air conduction on these headphones as well. I think the headphones I'm going to go back to a lot myself and use them a lot, but I still do have questions about whether they're going to be worth the price tag when you compare them to other models in the Shokz range or indeed other models in general. So for one, you've got the Shokz OpenSwim Pro, which are the same price and they have MP3 playback as well as Bluetooth playback. Now, sound quality on the OpenSwim headphones is not as good as on the OpenRun Pro 2 for me, and the battery life is shorter, but the flexibility of that MP3 mode means that you can use them in the pool if you want to do that. And also, for me as a runner, I could use the OpenSwim Pro in races because I'd have the music stored on the headphones themselves. I don't tend to carry my phone in races, so the OpenRun Pro with only having the Bluetooth playback wouldn't be as useful to me there. And then there are cheaper models in the Shokz range, like the standard OpenRun or even the OpenFit Air, the lightweight open headphones. I think you have got kind of the best of Shokz technology here in terms of battery life and sound quality and a bone conduction design, but those cheaper models still sound pretty good, still have pretty good battery life. And I always think when you're looking at bone conduction headphones, you can't really just use these for everything in life. Like, they're not very useful when you're going traveling because they don't block out external noise. Like in the office, I tend to prefer in-ear headphones. So I would usually go for a cheaper set of bone conduction headphones if I could and use them for my runs mainly, and then try and get a cheapish set of in-ear headphones as well for those occasions when I want that passive noise cancellation, the better sound quality. And so then splashing out 170 quid on these when you could go for a cheaper model that's still really good, like the OpenRun, a very good model from Shokz, or look at some of the other brands like Majawa, and then have that money left over to buy a cheaper set of in-ear buds as well. I think that's probably the more flexible approach to headphones because I don't want to use bone conduction headphones all the time. And then if you are thinking about committing fully to open headphones or bone conduction headphones, for everything in life, I think there are more suitable headphones. Like the Bose Ultra Open earbuds, I think are excellent open headphones. They're very expensive, much more expensive than these headphones, but the sound quality is outstanding. It's the best I've come across in open headphones. I really like them for running as well, so those are an option if you are just going to commit to an open design. But I think if you put the price aside, I think the OpenRun Pro 2 are the best bone conduction headphones for runners. They've got the best sound quality thanks to that combination approach to sound, the best battery life, and outstanding fit. They're really good. The headphones I'm going to use a lot. It's just spending that much money on bone conduction headphones, I think, can be a little bit tricky to sell when you can get really good pairs for less from Shokz and others.
So my verdict is, yes, they're the best of the OpenRun headphones so far. I think the sound is better. The build is not massively different for me. I think it's, if I was to pick out a load of different OpenRun and OpenRun Pro headphones, I'd struggle to find out which is which based on the design elements of them. So I think it's pretty similar to what if you've experienced them before, they're all pretty similarly designed. Really, for me, the only difference is the sound and that USB-C charger. I think if you want to get a pair of OpenRun headphones, whether it's the OpenRuns or the OpenRun Pros, I think these are definitely the best now. The sound is just marginally better than those earlier versions. But what I would say is that if you're paying a lot more money for these, I don't know if the trade-off is worth it. I think you'd be absolutely fine with an earlier version of the OpenRuns. The sound isn't massively different, so if you can save a load of money to get the earlier versions, get the earlier versions, unless you want the perfect loudest sound that you can get, which is only marginally louder. It's not going to have a massive difference to you, but it is better if you're willing to pay that. There is, of course, the OpenFit Air now, which I do really like the OpenFit Air. I think it's a very solid sound that you get from it. I think they're very comfortable to wear. I do think the awareness isn't as good on those, so you do get better awareness on these. I think the other thing as well with the OpenFit Air is that I'm not entirely sure if you're allowed to use those in races. So if you're buying those thinking they're going to tick the box of the bone conduction headphone rule when you're going to do races in the UK, I'm not sure they do. I think people will think they're just normal headphones. So I think if you want to get the best version of OpenRun headphones that are out there, these are definitely that, but I don't think you need to. I think you can get cheaper versions of them, and I think you'll be more than happy. As long as you don't get the Open Move, because they're just too quiet.
So my verdict on the Shokz OpenRun Pro 2, so I think it's a pretty solid update to the OpenRun Pro in a couple of key areas, and ultimately the areas where Shokz ultimately offered promised improvements. I think the first one being sound quality. I think you like the sound quality in the OpenRun Pro, but like the idea of a little bit more in terms of power and bass. I think you're going to like the sound on the Pro 2. I think the other area is battery life. Now, that's not only the fact that you're getting a little bit more in terms of overall battery life, but I think the change in the charging solution, which is just going to make it a lot easier to use on a regular basis. I think I looked at the other Shokz headphones kind of options. I think I probably would still veer on going for the OpenRun as opposed to the Pro 2. I think it's good value there. I think it offers very balanced kind of sound overall. I think a good battery life, similar kind of design as well. And I think if you're looking for value, I think the OpenRun is still worth looking at. Obviously the OpenRun Pro now, which I still think offers very good sound overall, similar design to the Pro 2, but obviously lacks that kind of USB-C charging. And I think obviously it is going to be a little bit cheaper than the OpenRun Pro 2 now that that is on the scene. I think you look outside of the range, I think it still stands up as one of the best options, I think, in terms of, being really solid running headphones from a design, a sound, kind of battery kind of side of things, and giving that customization as well too. There are stronger options. I think if you look at things like the Synto Sonic, I think JBL have got very good strong options here. I think there's a lot of good air conduction options out there. I think, one that I think are really good value are the Sivka SO1 and SO2s, which are kind of truly wise earbud style ones. I think the Bose Ultra Open, I think in terms of clarity, I think you're getting better performance there, but you're going to obviously have to pay for that. And I think that's, more of a lifestyle style earbud or open ear kind of solution compared to the OpenRun Pro 2. Now, I think ultimately, which should you buy it? I think if you've got the OpenRun Pro, I think if you really are not happy with that sound and the warmth and that kind of, bolder sound, then I think that might be a reason to look at these. And again, I think the battery life as well too. But, I had a very good experience with the OpenRun Pro 2. I think they are a solid update on its predecessor, and I think still remain one of the best kind of running headphones you can get. Is it the best option in Shokz's range? I think there's better value elsewhere. But I think if you are looking for the best of the best in terms of sound performance and the kind of design qualities that you're going to get from a pair of Shokz headphones, then these are ultimately the ones that you should go for. Okay, so there you have it. That is our multi-tester take on the Shokz OpenRun Pro 2. Now, if you've got any questions that we haven't covered in this video, do let us know. If there are other headphones you want to see these compared to as well, do let us know about those as well. As always, like and subscribe, hit that little bell to find out about our latest videos, and we'll see you for the next Run Testers video.
Yeah.